So here's an example of a pretty typical house in Monte Cristi in the Dominican Republic. Sometimes they're painted, but they'll just be painted on one side so that it looks like it's painted, but they might not be able to afford paint for the whole building. Usually like a tin roof like this, not completely enclosed, quite permeable to mosquitoes. There is some malaria and some dengue in the area, so that's kind of what we're dealing with.
Can anyone find the shoe in this picture? Yeah.
Yes, the shoe is on the door.
I think so, yeah, to keep it locked.
So this is one shot of the orphanage, and so one of the main themes and sayings of orphanage outreach is poco a poco, or little by little. So like the basketball court was built in parts. So it's kind of like as supplies are available, volunteers are available, and money is available, then they would build more and more of the court, and now it's a full court. The volleyball court was built by a couple who got married and decided to kind of donate their services and the wedding party services by getting concrete and actually building the volleyball court. So we thought that was pretty cool too. There are some pigs who live kind of behind the orphanage, and so the scrap food that the volunteers don't eat goes to the orphans and or to the pigs. And there were piglets who showed up while we were there, so it was really cool to watch them run around as we walked to this school every day. So this is the only shot Sarah found where her hair was not totally crazy. This is on El Morro, which is kind of the landmark of Monte Cristi. Like if you Googled Monte Cristi, they would have pictures of El Morro. It's extremely windy there. I took a lot of really cool videos. It's a bay kind of shaped like this. I think there's another. This is at the capital city, Santo Domingo. This is with some of our other friends we made. Karen is in the white shirt, and she will be coming to Mama Baby on November 1st or 2nd to do photography and write some articles. So that's our friend Karen. And here's us being dragged around at recess at one of the schools. As soon as you're done teaching your class, you immediately have like 4 Dominican kids run up to you and just latch onto your arms. And then they drag you outside like this.
My American.
Yeah, and they kind of fight over you. So this is me after a little bit of sun. And the ice cream is amazing. It's one of the main reasons why Coco, the in-country director, decided to stay in the Dominican, because the ice cream was that darn good. And cheap, too. Another picture. So on the left is where we were standing, except way higher. And then Columbus named that rock formation El Zapato, or the shoe, because it looks like a shoe from the side. Okay, hand it off to Sarah, ND. I'm going to steal this part, though.
Okay. By the way, the point of the microphone is for our video, not so you can hear us. Sorry. Okay, so we were in the Dominican Republic for about 48 hours, and then we went to Haiti, and we were only able to be there for about 3 days for a number of reasons, but we tried to work really fast. We got to see the birth center, which was really beautiful, and we went to 8 different villages around the area of Cap-Haïtien, which is the 2nd largest city in Haiti. Port-au-Prince was the city that was pretty much devastated in the earthquake, and Cap-Haïtien is on the other side of the country. So we went to these villages to see what their needs are, to see how we could help, see what their diseases are. Okay, what we found was astounding. We couldn't fathom what we would find. There are no census records really in that country. People are just sort of born and they die, and no one quite knows how many people live in any area. But from what we could gather, in the 8 villages we visited, there were about 75,000 people. We found one village with 2 doctors that no one could afford, and we found another village with 1 hospital that was pretty much occupied by refugees who were still needing to be treated after the earthquake, and it was really understaffed. So that's basically 75,000 people who can't afford to go to the doctor. So it was pretty drastic. So in order to be seen in a hospital, let's say you're sick, no matter what it is, if you're bleeding out, if you're having a seizure, whatever it is, you have to pay before you can be seen. You have to buy your blankets, your pillows, your IVs, your needles, your medicine, your food for the whole time you're there. And if you can't pay, then you can't stay there. So it's bad. Women typically give birth either at home or on the way to the hospital. The closest hospital for most women is about 45 minutes away. And oftentimes they'll be like on the back of a motorcycle, like going over a bumpy road in labor. And usually they don't make it to the hospital. They have the baby on the side of the road. So we talked to mostly pastors in the communities, not because we have a religious affiliation, but because they're typically leaders in the community. They have a venue where they can speak to people. People go to church. Most people go to church there. So we met with them, and they were able to tell us that most of the diseases that they find are hypertension and diabetes, which we were a bit surprised about, given the fact that most Haitians eat once a day. But again, it's the type of food that you eat. Also headaches and diarrhea, especially in the little kids under 5, STDs, tuberculosis and HIV as well. But everything is not diagnosed as much as it would be here in the US because obviously people aren't going to the doctor. Okay, so we found pretty much no clean water available. None of the villages had any clean water. One village had 1 well for 10,000 people. So imagine that. Like, you want to get water and you fight with your 10,000 neighbors to get it. And maybe it rains and you can collect it, but if it's not raining for a while, then you're going to fight over the water. They make $480.50 a year on average, so that's pretty shocking. And again, they eat mostly just once a day. So when we got to the birth center, we were told it was going to be finished, but when we pulled up, there was a crew of 15 guys working on it. So we pulled up to a construction zone, basically, and we had planned to stay there that night. So after our trek like across the border with our backpacks and then driving 2.5 hours on a bumpy road, we were pretty exhausted and hot, and then we realized we were going to be sleeping in a construction zone. But luckily, my brother-in-law, who is a Marine, sent us some MREs, or meals ready to eat, so we had those. But this guy was amazing. He was hilarious. He was speaking very quickly to us in Creole, running all over the house, following us around, and we had no idea what he was saying, but he was very sweet and loved having his picture taken. So, all of our pictures are cropped. They're not all supposed to be like this, but this is a view from one of the balconies. You walk out, and that's the view from the upstairs. It's an absolutely beautiful country, mountains and grass and green, and it's just a beautiful place. Next. Just another view of the birth center and a view of the outside. So the birth center has 6 bedrooms in it, 4 bathrooms. It will have about 40 beds. So women can come and do their prenatal visits, have a good nutritious meal at least once a week, have their babies there, have a really good place where they can recover, and we can teach them how to be a really good mom and about breastfeeding and nutritious meals. So it's going to be a really good situation. So we passed these guys on the side of the road. Everyone just sits on top of the stuff that they're hauling along. And another funny thing that we passed on the side of the road. Coke bottles. This isn't a very good picture, but I was really amazed with how the women can carry things on their heads. They put like a piece of cloth, and then they just carry really, really heavy buckets, like a really heavy bucket of water that I could barely carry with my arms. They're carrying on their heads and not holding it up, just walking down the road. I was amazed. We were driving along and saw this, and we had to get a picture. It's pretty funny. This is a view of Cap Haitien. It's a beautiful area. So we decided we're going to Haiti, in case you're wondering. So we leave November 1st, give or take. If you need any household items, let us know. We're selling all our stuff.
TV.
TV, yeah. Okay, so I'm sure you're all wondering how you can volunteer, right? So go to mamababyhaiti.org and read all about the organization on their website, and you can sign up there. It's super, super cheap to volunteer with them. They're trying to keep it reasonable so that we can, so that more people can volunteer. It's $250 a week. This includes your meals, your bed at the birth center, and in-country transportation. And we're accepting docs and students as well as midwives and midwifery students. But you would be responsible for your flight to and from Cape Haitian. It's between the flight from, okay, so you fly to like Fort Lauderdale or Miami, and that's however much it'll be. I think we found one for, it was super cheap, like $150 if we fly. Oh no, that was from another area. I don't know from Phoenix, but a few hundred to get to Florida, maybe a couple hundred, and then it's $500 or $600 to get from Florida to Cap because it's a regional airline, and they charge you for your luggage by weight. So, oh yeah, or you could fly into Port-au-Prince, which is it's a bigger city, and then get an in-country flight to Cap Haitian. So we can look up prices if you guys are interested. Okay, if you can also volunteer with Orphanage Outreach, orphanage-outreach.org. They accept volunteers for a week or longer. The cost is a bit higher, $800 a week, includes your meals, in-country transportation, and a place to sleep. You fly in and out of Santiago, Dominican Republic, and our tickets for round trip were $500 or $600, I think, each to fly in and out of Santiago. Right now, they're pretty much only doing medical clinics in February and early March, but you can get a large team if you have a doc and go pretty much any time of the year. You can also teach English and public health any time of the year. And don't forget, you can volunteer with NWB. It's really, really easy. It's really rewarding. I know it seems daunting to spend an entire weekend or a really long drive down there, but it's so worth it. It's really what kept us going, and your clinical skills will not only develop, but they'll be better than everyone else who's here. A lot of times, honestly, I mean, because you've seen pathologies that they haven't seen, and you've done these exams 10 times more than everyone else has. It'll increase your confidence, and it will remind you why you came here. So just ask our lovely board members and handsome board member for, for more details. Yes, he's lovely. Okay, and we're going to end with a quote. Paul Farmer, you got to read this book, Mountains Beyond Mountains. If you haven't read it, simply put, the well should take care of the sick. So that's what it's all about. All right, any questions?